Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Let's look at whether it's time for you to upgrade your MacBook Pro or iMac with the new M3 models. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 1,000 supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There you could read more about it, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So on October 30th, Apple updated its MacBook Pro and iMac to new models that include the new M3 processor. If you're already using a MacBook or iMac, you may be wondering whether or not it's time to upgrade. First, let's take a look at what Apple announced. They came out with a 14-inch and a 16-inch MacBook Pro. This replaced the former 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pro. So the entire MacBook Pro line is different, although the MacBook Airs are the same. Now, if you look at the new MacBook Pros, the tech specs are pretty similar to what there was before. But the main thing you'll find that's different is the chip inside it. The M3 chip is now used in these two MacBook models. And you can get a range of these chips. You can get the base level M3 chip in the 14-inch MacBook Pro, but not the 16-inch. The 16-inch starts at the M3 Pro level and then goes to the M3 Max chip, which you can also get in the 14-inch model. So you've got upgrades on the chips. So are these chips faster? Well, definitely yes. Apple shows that performance is, of course, better than the M2 chips. Naturally, they are. In addition to that, the GPUs on these chips include lots of new things that could be used for 3D, specifically games, but lots of future apps that also use 3D in their interfaces. The displays are improved, although the displays were already great, but these Pro models have the Liquid Retina XDR display, and now it's a little brighter than before. The M3 models also allow upgrades to larger amounts of memory, although the base model MacBook Pro can still start as low as 8 gigs. And the battery life's been improved as well. The ports are more or less the same, but note that if you get the M3 14-inch MacBook Pro, it has only 2 Thunderbolt ports, and they're Thunderbolt 3. It's only if you get the M3 Pro or M3 Max processors that now you've got Thunderbolt 4 ports and you actually have 3 of them. 2 on one side and 1 on the other. So what about the new iMac? So the iMac looks the same. It's basically physically identical to the previous model. It comes in the same colors, but as with the MacBook Pro, it's the new chip inside that matters. So you only have the one choice, the M3 chip. But otherwise the display, camera, and most of the other aspects of the iMac are the same as the M1 model that was out before. So the big change really is the processor. It's important to realize with the processors that as you jump generations from say M1 to M2 to M3, the change isn't as significant as actually going up levels, which are the base model, the Pro, the Max, and the Ultra. So while we don't have benchmarks yet for the M3 processors, we can look at the benchmarks for the M1 and M2 processors, and here they are. And you can see here that when you're looking at something like the CPU, when you go from M1 to M2, you definitely see an improvement. But look at the improvement from the base M1 to the Pro to the Max, and from the base M2 to the Pro to the Max. Those are bigger jumps. So for instance, an M1 Pro chip is better than the base M2. And an M1 Max chip is better than the M2 Pro. The difference is even bigger when you're talking about the graphics. So the GPUs on these chips, they go up, of course, if you go from M1 to M2. But if you look at the jump from base to Pro to Max, you can see there are much bigger jumps here. Look at how if you have the Max M1, how much faster that is than the Pro M2. And the same thing when you're looking at this other metric here. I only bring this up because a lot of people incorrectly assume that any M2 chip is better than any M1 chip. And that's not the case. The level of the chip, the base, Pro, Max, and Ultra, is what matters the most. The generation is an increment on all of those at the same level. So one of the key things to realize then is that if you're looking to upgrade to basically the same model MacBook Pro or the iMac, and you already have Apple Silicon, so you've got the M1 iMac or the M1 or M2 MacBook Pro, then it's probably not worth it at this point to upgrade to an M3 MacBook Pro or the M3 iMac. The change isn't going to be enough. Let's take a look at the options when you buy one. So here's the buy page, and you can choose the 14 or 16-inch model. If you stick with the 14-inch model, then you could go with the M3, M3 Pro, or M3 Max chip. If you go to the 16-inch model, you just have the M3 Pro or M3 Max. Now note that getting a MacBook Pro with an M3 chip in it, that's making it very similar to a MacBook Air. Now there is no M3 MacBook Air, but eventually at some point next year there will be. And the M2 isn't really that far behind. Without the Pro chip, you're going to be missing the extra port, you're going to be missing Thunderbolt 4, and a variety of other things. So that's like the M3 Pro base model there. And we can see we're already at 512 gigs of storage, which is good because I don't recommend that anybody get the 256 gigs of storage. All your iCloud data is going to be there. All your photos are probably going to be there. It's going to be much faster than any external drive that you can get. And of course, using external drive is going to make your MacBook Pro much less portable. And you can see at this level, you're getting 18 gigs of memory. So much better than the 8 gigs of memory that you would get if instead you chose the base model M3 and then you're looking at 8 gigs of memory. So you can see how the base model MacBook Pro really isn't much of a bargain with just the M3 chip starting at 8 gigs of RAM. Now let's look at the iMac. You do actually have two choices of processor in the iMac, but they're both M3. One is the 8-core GPU model and the other is the 10-core GPU model. And if you go to the 10-core GPU model, you're also getting the full selection of colors, whereas you're limited with the base model. Both of these models here have the minimum amount of storage, which I certainly don't recommend, and 8 gigs of RAM, which is fine for most users as long as you're not doing really intense graphics work or video work or 3D work. Then 8 gigs is probably fine for most personal computer users. If we customize this second model here, then we can add in some more memory and go to at least the next drive level for $1,900. And if you're just a casual home user, then 8 gigs of memory is the first place you should look to cut. Never go down to this level of storage. It's just not going to be enough. As a matter of fact, for most home users, it's worth it to go up yet another level in storage before you consider going up memory. I know there are a lot of people out there warning about getting as little as 8 gig in your Mac, but I've had an M1 with 8 gigs of RAM and an M2 with 8 gigs of RAM, and both work great for just about anything that home users want to do. It's only if you're using it professionally for some really intense work that you really need to go up a level. Certainly, if you've got the money to do it, do it. But if you've only got $200 to spend, then I would spend it on storage, not the memory there. The storage is going to limit you much more in the future. Now another thing to think about is the lifespan of a Mac. So when you purchase a new Mac from the original day that the Mac was released, you've got between 5 and 7 years before it loses the ability to have the latest operating system. The computer still works, of course. You just can't get the latest and greatest that Apple comes out with. And then even after that, you've got about 2 years of security updates. You can still use the Mac after that. You're just not going to get security updates from Apple. So if you're using, say, the oldest M1 Mac, the 2020 MacBook Pro, then now it's already 3 years into this. So if you're looking for a lateral move, say, from the M1 MacBook Pro to an M3 MacBook Pro, then I don't think it's worth it at this point yet. You still got plenty of good years in your M1. But if you're also looking to upgrade to a higher level model, for instance, going from an M1 MacBook Pro to an M1 Max MacBook Pro, then it's a bigger jump. So in other words, you're looking at doing two things at once, getting a newer model, but also a more powerful level of Mac. Then this is a good time to upgrade your MacBook Pro. But for iMacs, there is no option like that. You're just going from M1 to M3. There's no M3 Pro or M3 Max version of the iMac. So you can't actually go up a level. So if you have an M1 iMac, I don't think it's worth upgrading to the M3 iMac. If you really want to go up a big level there, then you want to be looking at, say, a Mac Studio system and not just sticking with the iMac just 2 years later. On the other hand, if you still have an Intel MacBook Pro or an Intel iMac, then this is a great time to upgrade. You can see here that even if you have a 2019 version of these, it's getting close to that 5-year mark. And if it's older than that, it's getting closer to the 7-year mark as well. And it's a great time to make the jump to Apple Silicon. Your new Mac is going to be several times faster even if you stay at the same level. So even if you had a powerful Intel MacBook Pro, or a powerful Intel iMac, going to the Apple Silicon versions, these M3 versions, is going to be a huge jump. And you're going to get improvements across the board in things like the screen, the cameras, all sorts of things. Now, if your Intel Mac is still working fine for you, then of course there's no need to upgrade. It's only if you want to. There's never a need really to upgrade. But if you're looking to upgrade and you're looking for the right time, this is probably it. Going from Intel to Apple Silicon right now with the new MacBook Pros and iMacs, if those are the models you're looking for, this is a great time to do it. I don't expect Apple to introduce any new Macs before the end of the year and even in the beginning of next year. The earliest we'll probably see something maybe is at the end of January when they celebrate the 40th anniversary of the Mac. So this is a good time to buy or update a Mac now, knowing that Apple's not going to come out with something next week or next month. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.